Migrant students are between the ages of 3 and 21 who change school districts because of a parent or guardian's work in agriculture. In Kansas, the majority of our migrant workers are employed by the meat industry. This video features Alex Hernandez Castro, who was herself a migrant student in Kansas and today works with migrant high school students. I came to New Mexico. I immigrated here when I was 3. We crossed the Rio Grande, and we were living in a ranch, well, in different ranches up until I was in 4th grade, and then in 4th grade I moved to Kansas, and I ended up graduating from a Kansas high school. My parents worked with livestock. My father was a rancher, or he was a ranch hand actually, and so we moved around from ranch to ranch, working with sheep and cattle, digging ditches, kind of working on the farm. So that was our migrant work. There are many differences between a migrant student or a child and a non-migrant student. Obviously, the biggest difference is that they move. They are constantly moving, and so that disrupts their education. A lot of times they have to drop out of school because they can't make up the credits because they're moving around so much. They're low income. Most of them, I think, about 90% are first generation, so their parents never went on to college or earned a bachelor's degree. On top of that, there's a mixture within the migrant group, which is you have students that are undocumented, students who are citizens, students who are beginning ESL, students that speak English only. So it's a very diverse group. The majority of them are Latino. So, I think we found that about 50% of our students don't graduate from high school. So that's the biggest percentage that we were able to find compared to other races or ethnicities. So they face a lot of extra challenges, adjusting to new schools, earning those credits that they need to graduate. A lot of times their transcripts aren't transferred to their new school, so they have to repeat grades. And so it's just, for many of them, it's a necessity to quit school and to work because they just don't see any hope in actually graduating from high school. The majority of our students are Latino, and we found that about 1 in 4 Latinos live in poverty. And so, a lot of them have to face that every day. Also, the risk or the fear of having to move again. That's just something that's just part of their lives. One day they'll be in one school and the next day they'll be, somewhere else in another state. But it's just the nature of the work, and that's how it, those are just some of the things that they have to face on a regular basis. Not to mention that, there are some students, we're seeing a rise in numbers of ELL students. So that's also a big challenge for a lot of them. And then, if their parents don't speak English, a lot of students also have to translate for their parents, and so that's another responsibility. These students are very resilient. They can navigate new systems pretty easily, especially if they are immigrant, having come here to the United States. That's a huge change for them. And so, but at the same time, although that is a very positive thing, at the same time, these students don't really get that invested in their education. They don't see a lot of hope because they get so far behind in their education that it's just hard for them to catch up with their credits sometimes. And a lot of times, the family needs the money, and so they have to also contribute in some way. And sometimes that can even be, not necessarily working, but taking care of the younger children. So we have seen that the older siblings, especially in the Latino community, we see that there's a lot of students feel a lot of responsibility, or children feel responsibility towards their family. And so, especially the older ones, they tend to drop out of school so that so they can take care of the younger ones and give them more opportunities. The best way to communicate with parents, if at all possible, is face to face. Meeting them, that's the best way to build that trust. And once you have that trust, then you can actually get parents to do a lot of things for their students. Parents often aren't involved, migrant parents, and in general Latino parents, because about 90% or more of migrant students and families are Latino. So some of the reason why they are not so involved is because, first of all, for many of them, there is that language barrier. Second of all, they don't understand how the system works, the educational system. And so if they don't understand how it works, it's hard for them to go out and to speak to and to talk to the teacher, or and also they are embarrassed. So that's also a big thing. One of the things that I found was that in the Mexican culture, teachers are an authority. And so to question a teacher as a parent, that's just very disrespectful, because they're the teacher. They know what they're doing, and they're the ones that, know it all pretty much. And so here, I think a lot of parents don't go to the teacher because they feel like it might be disrespectful. And that's like questioning their authority, their knowledge. And so I think that's also a factor. Another factor is a lot of times they don't have the resources to go to the school. They don't have a vehicle, or they're afraid to drive, especially if they are parents that live, out in the country or further out of town, or if the mother just doesn't drive, or the father. The resources that we found is, again, if going into the colleges and universities, finding a point or a contact there that students could feel comfortable talking to, somebody that you can trust. Scholarships and money for college. Here in Kansas, it's the HB 2145, the House Bill 2145, that gives students who are undocumented the right to in-state tuition. You also have scholarships within different institutions and colleges that are merit-based, or that are scholarships that don't ask for any kind of documentation. We encourage counselors and teachers and everyone to encourage students and to help students who are eligible for the FAFSA to apply for the FAFSA. Because I was eligible for the FAFSA. It's a free application for federal student aid. So it's the main source of financial aid for students who are citizens or permanent residents. If they are eligible, if they're permanent residents or citizens, even if their parents are not, they have a right to that money. And that includes up to $5,000, I think, in grants. So it's free money for college. And I think a lot of times students don't know about it, even if they are. So I think it is taking that time out of your day to talk to a student, get to know them, asking them questions. What are your goals? Because what we found is that students who talk about their goals, their educational goals, to teachers or just to other people in general, compared to students who don't talk about their goals or their dreams, these students who do talk about their goals or dreams or even write them down have a much greater chance of actually accomplishing those dreams. So we encourage students, talk to your teachers, talk to your counselors, talk to anybody who's been to college. Just ask them, what was it like for you when you went to college? Where did you go? What was it like? How much did it cost? Those types of questions. And so as an educator, I think it's very important to, even if you're walking down the hall, talk to students, say, hey, what do you plan to do after you graduate from high school? Have you thought about college?